Hi guys, and welcome back to my classics series. I know that lots of you read classics, or maybe you want to start reading classics but just don't know how to build up your collection of classics. So today I am going to be talking about how to read classics on a budget. I know that buying books can be expensive but also intensely satisfying, and I have found a few ways in which I can buy classics and not spend that much money. I much prefer to spend my money on new books that support the author, because every time you buy a book, for example through Waterstones or through an independent bookseller, you are supporting the author, the publisher, and that bookshop that you're buying that book from, which is why I tend to buy my books from a mixture of places. But when it comes to classics and a lot of older editions of classics where I'm not too fussy about what edition, I just really want to read the classic, then I have found a really good system, lots of different ways that I can consume books but still not spend too much money. So recently I've been doing lots of weird book research. So I'm trying to write something that involves a lot of historical research, and I have been having an awful time trying to find some really obscure books that haven't been heard of in a very long time. And when I've gone to buy a copy, it literally says that it costs £20,000. So I was thinking, how am I going to find this book and be able to read it and still eat at the end of this and still actually be able to own the book? And one of the best ways, one of the best websites on the internet is Project Gutenberg. This is a website run by a university in America where lots of volunteers upload books that are now either out of print or are out of copyright. So copyright in the UK I think is about 70 years, and after the author has died then that book goes into the public domain and anybody can read it or publish it or anything like that. So for a book that was published last year, this won't be the case because the author still retains the copyright, and if you buy that book then you are supporting that author, which is why pirating books is so wrong, because the author sees nothing, then won't get published again, for example, and a lot goes wrong with people pirating books. But Project Gutenberg is a completely legal, free way of reading the books, and I think this is a great way if you're maybe not sure about reading the book, you just want to give the first chapter a go before you maybe commit to buying it. And there are so many amazing books on Project Gutenberg, from Pride and Prejudice to an obscure book about the Nile that I've been reading recently from the late 1700s that you'd never find anywhere now, but it has enabled me to read it, which I'm very happy about. I have so much respect for the people that do upload the books and for the people who use it and support it too, and I just think that Project Gutenberg is amazing and I am forever singing the praises of it. There are so many books, and I think the best way to find out about it is to go on the website, which I'll link in the description, and find out for yourself. Type in any classic book and it will probably be on there, and I love it. Another similar way that I read classics is on the Kindle store. So you can go onto the Kindle bookstore and type in classic books, and most of the time you will find them for free. Another good thing about this, even if the books aren't free, is that you can go on there and find bind up editions. So I bought the complete works of Shakespeare, including his poetry, his sonnets, all his plays and a biography of him for 42p, which is possibly the best thing I've ever bought. How many other things can you buy like that for 42p? I've also seen bind-ups of the Bronte books, of Sir Walter Scott, so have a look on there, it's always worth checking out. A recent obsession that I've developed is with Abe Books, which is a website that you can go on and find either new or used books. Now this is a website that is run by Amazon, so some of you may be thinking that you don't want to support Amazon for books, which is fair enough, so just giving you the heads up, some of you will be completely fine with that. But the way that I use Abe Books is to buy second-hand books, and even though part of the purchase is supporting Amazon, you're also supporting second-hand bookshops at the same time, and I've picked up some real bargains. So you may have seen a while back that I got lots of Thomas Hardy books from my grandma, and I didn't have a complete set, and I loved these editions when I've started to read them, so I wanted to see if I could get any of the same. And recently I picked up The Hand of Ethelberta, A Laodicean, and these are all all in the new Wessex editions, and they've got really good explanatory notes at the end and a really good introduction too, and I just really love the way that they look. And they aren't in bad condition either. There is slight wear to the spines and slight marking to the front, but you always get to see before you purchase on there whether the book is very good used or just good used. Sometimes they say it's adequate, so you can always see, and most of the time if you're not happy with the book you can send it back and you'll get a refund too. I also had one time when I didn't get sent the book and the refund came through very quickly, and I was very impressed with the service, so I really loved this. And a recent book that I also got from there is another Thomas Hardy, and I'm so happy with this. It was a complete chance that I got this. This is The Famous Tragedy of the Queen of Cornwall, which is a play by Thomas Hardy, and this is an edition that used to be in the Cheltenham Public Library, and you can see the library stamp here and the little reserve card. And what I love about this is that this was first taken out on the 4th of April 1924. So when this book was in circulation in the library, Thomas Hardy was still alive. And someone pointed this out to me on Twitter and it blew my mind, because you think of Thomas Hardy as a Victorian writer, but he died in the 1920s. And so he lived through such a changing era, right from the Victorian to the Edwardian, right through to the First World War and beyond. And this book was still around when he was alive. And I just love that bit of history in this book. Complete chance that this happened, but I loved it, and I just think you can get so much on AbeBooks for so cheap, and you support secondhand bookshops as well. A very classic way of reading classics for cheaply is the library, and the library is really good for classics because they are such well-known books that you're pretty much guaranteed to find what you're looking for, as long as it's quite a well-known book. So right back when I started reading classics, I found in my local library Pride and Prejudice, Dracula, all sorts of books like that, and I don't think you can go wrong with a library, so I was bound to recommend it in this video. Another way, if you want to read or listen to books on the go, is the podcast app. I don't know what it's like for other phone services, but I have an iPhone and you have the podcast app with it, and on there is a podcast service called LibriVox, which is a service where you can listen to classics for free. So I've listened to things like Jane Eyre on there before, and I also listened to books on Spotify, which you have to kind of dig around on there for, but I listened to Othello when I was doing it for my AS exams, and I thought it was really good to hear Othello acted out. You can't see it, which does make a difference, but I really liked it for plays, and there were all sorts of Shakespeare plays on there, but I do really like LibriVox. I've been listening to Lord Byron poetry because I find it quite hard going, and the edition I have is huge, so I've been trying to listen to stuff on there and I really like it. So I think that is maybe a more underrated way of consuming books, but I really like it and really do think you should check it out if you haven't already. And the final way to read classics on a budget that I want to recommend is these editions by Wordsworth. I love these. Some people don't, it's personal taste. The font is quite small in them, so if you're looking for something with a large font, maybe don't go for these, but these are about £2 to £3, sometimes £5, but they are super cheap books and I really like them to read. I think that in terms of the quality, they're not the best produced books, but it means that you can dog ear the pages, you can write notes, and it doesn't matter at the end of it. So I have The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame, and this one actually has illustrations in two. There's also really good notes at the back and a short introduction in these, so you get the same that you're getting, for example, with a Penguin classic in just a very much cheaper version, and I really like that. And then I also have Hard Times by Charles Dickens. Some of them have this spot UV finish, which means they shine. Others are just normal, blending into the cover. I think they're really good editions. I think you can chuck them in your bag. You don't have to worry about them. It doesn't matter if you ruin them because you are spending so little on them, and that is what I like about them. So those are some of my tips for reading classics on a budget. I'd love to know if you've tried any of these or if you have any tips of your own, and I will see you guys soon. Happy reading!